welcome back to the channel and thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we are here to discuss the L Word Generation Q Season 2, and I don't even really know what I'm going to call this video because I guess it's like a Season 2 wish list slash what I hope happens, what answers I want. So yeah, I guess like a Season 2 wish list and kind of thoughts on things that I think would be interesting and what I want to see going forward. Now, I know that's very presumptuous of me, but I'm sure, you know, I'm not making insane leaps here, you know, and saying, oh, I hope that they, you know, have an alien try and infiltrate the group or something. Like, I'm using the storylines and most of the characters from Season 1. But we do all remember Season 6. So whoever thought we'd get a murder mystery in the hours? But different times. And I am doing a Generation Q rewatch at the moment, and I definitely am like seeing things that the first time when I watched it I didn't feel that way, and it's just getting me really excited for Season 2. And I think a big, you know, part of that too is I've been watching it like kind of parallel with Season 6 because I'm doing the Season 6 retro reviews. And after I do episodes 7 and 8, so the last two, the penultimate and the final, I'll start doing the Generation Q reviews. So obviously you'll hear a lot more then. And I'm just really excited about Season 2. I know, you know, we've still got a good bit of filming to go and we don't know when the show is coming back, but I just want to kind of keep that same energy going. And I know I've said this a few times before, but literally every day I'm like, will today be the day that we get a trailer? And you know, someday it's gonna be that day. So I am going to be fully ready for that day. So make sure you guys are too. And by being ready, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so that the second that I upload, like, you know, last week when Rachel Shelley, it was announced about her, you found out first here. So make sure to hit that bell notification so that you're notified every single time I post a video. And if at any point during the video you enjoy it, please give it a like, as it really, really helps out in my eternal battle with the YouTube algorithm, because they are not too fond of the LGBTQ folks with the algorithm. So without further ado, let's get on to my top 12 bit random wish lists, hopes, dreams for the L Word Generation Q Season 2. So I'm mainly going to start out with the newbies and then go into the OGs. But the first thing has to be, you know, Sophie's Choice, where we left at the end of episode 8 in Season 1. And it has been a very, very long cliffhanger. So I'm really, really, you know, I go back and forth all the time on whether I think it's going to be Finley or Dani. Personally, even though I don't like the whole cheating thing, I do want it to be Finley. And if I had to, if somebody said you have to bet, I think I would bet on Finley, because I just don't know how they could move forward if it was Dani. I know they'd figure it out, but it you know, Sophie and Finley already cheated. Like, they had all these issues, Dani and Sophie, beforehand. So I really think it will be Finley, and I do have a real soft spot for Finley too, even though I kind of relate to Dani a bit more. But I do think, you know, it's obvious that Dani and Sophie don't work, so it will be interesting to see what happens there. And, you know, at the LCon on Friday when we had everyone on the channel, and if you haven't watched that, it's posted on my channel if you want to go and watch it now. And a lot of people were saying that they think that we're going to have some sort of time jump. I did say this like a while back too, that I thought maybe they wouldn't pick up straight from the airport, that they would start showing us everything else, and then at the very end of the first episode we maybe find out who she chose. So I'm not too sure whether we'll find out the second we get back to season 2, but hopefully we at least get like a backtrack and see the moment where, you know, Sophie goes up to Finley or Dani, or, you know, they could really throw us off and Sophie could just be going to the exit and thinking, I need to have some time by myself and, you know, just chill and figure things out, because she's obviously been with Dani for like a while. And, you know, she did cheat on Dani too, so maybe she wants to take a step back and, you know, have some single time. So we shall see. So anyone who follows my channel a lot will not be surprised by what I'm going to say. But number 2, more Gigi. I need more Gigi in this season. I mean, originally when I watched the show, immediately I was like, who is this? Tell me more, tell me more. And Gigi is my, without a doubt, favourite Gen Q character. I really do like Dani as well. Like, I relate to her in like the way I relate to Bette, but Gigi, just, we need more of her in season 2, and it seems as though we're getting a lot more Gigi in season 2. And originally I was very like, ooh, Alice and Gigi, because yes, Bette is my favorite character, but Alice is a really, really close second. And the more that I watch, like rewatch, or just even, you know, with Gen Q, I love Alice more, and it's a really, really close race between Bette and Alice for my favorite L Word character. And on this last rewatch, I have been a bit more Alice and Nat. Like, I do like them together as well. And now that I've got this little idea in my head about Dani and Gigi, I'm kind of hellbent on that. And I didn't really remember, I mean, I remembered the scene, but not to this degree of detail when I rewatched. And it's after the throuple and like the hookup, and I don't think you can say that word on YouTube, and Shane and Alice are in Bette's office when they're making the phone calls, and Bette says to her like, Nat's ex-wife, and Alice is like, I mean, have you seen her? And they're all like, yeah. I just like cracked up seeing that. So I, you know, more Gigi, please, please, please. I will be a happy woman if that's what we get in season 2. So number 3, again, I do have a soft spot for Finley, and we did talk about this a little bit in Elcon as well, in that, you know, we've been given these tiny little nuggets of information about Finley, and like, she's an Olympic swimmer and she has like a religious family, and they don't seem to be very accepting of her, and they obviously don't have the best relationship right now because, you know, she doesn't even know her sister's getting married. You know, she has some baggage with like religion and things. So I really want some more information on Finley and her backstory, and, you know, how she's got to where she's got to, what is the relationship with her family. Like, I'm kind of picturing very much like where when I went to high school, I know I've mentioned this a few times, but this really just drives the point home and gives you a good sort of idea of what I'm dealing with. But I went to high school with Kayleigh McEnany, the former US press secretary, and that's the sort of person that I was dealing with in high school. My best high school friend and then my girlfriend, the three of us were like against basically like 80 versions. Okay, not everyone was like her, and there was a huge number of lesbians in my class, but there was a lot of people like that. So what I'm saying is, I'm sure we'll be dealing with a lot of, you know, that sort of stereotypical, very rich white. I know she's from Kansas City, so you know the stereotype. I'm sure her family fits some sort of country club way of living. So I'd love to see more, you know, I'm picturing her sisters being like very pearl wearing, like Lily Pulitzer dress sort of thing. So I'm definitely interested in seeing more of Finley, more about her backstory. And obviously it's also been touched on about like she obviously has some sort of alcohol dependency and what's going on there, and I'm really interested to see more of that. Kind of relating into the recovery thing, number 4 is I would really like to see more Tess, and specifically more about Tess and her like recovery. And you know, I think it's a really interesting thing where she obviously she's an alcoholic and she has issues with alcohol, and she works in a bar. So even looking at like, did she ever, especially probably in the beginning of her recovery, like look at moving away and like maybe working in like a restaurant where yes, like they still sell alcohol and stuff like that, but it's not such a big thing. And it must be really difficult. Not only like I don't drink at all, and I find it difficult when not like being around, because you know, like you go to the store and anybody can go and buy alcohol, like if it's not an issue. But what kind of to me is when I'm like, okay, it's time for me to go home, is if I go out to dinner with people or I'm like hanging out with people, and once they get about 3 drinks in and they start to get that like, you know, really loud and really silly, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm going home now. Because when you're stone cold sober, it gets like a, you know, people are like really loud and they start to get like messy, then yeah, it's time for me to go. And I'll always be like, does anybody want a ride? Okay, bye. So being around that, like working in a bar, and also it's not even the people that are being messy around her, they're not even like her friends that it can be like haha and like laugh it off. Like being around that level of people just behaving sloppy and stuff, and then also being around it, like obviously we saw her drinking at work because it's right in her face, and then we know she had like a long time sober, so how is she dealing with that? And like she obviously goes to meetings and stuff too, so really be interested to see more of that, because like anyone, like LGBTQ people do have a higher level of like substance abuse and things too, because obviously it's difficult for some people to come out and stuff. And I mean, every gender, race, everything, you know, all types of people deal with substance abuse. So I'm really interested to see it from the perspective of someone in our community. So definitely looking forward to that too. Number 5 is I would really be interested to see Dani being a better Bette, because I feel as though like, you know, a lot of people have pointed this out, that when even they kind of pointed it out in the show themselves, that when, especially when they're in the coffee line and Bette is like telling Dani like please and stuff, and she's looking at her like, oh, you remind me of myself. And you know, there's a lot of parallels between them, and they do have a lot of the same like very key characteristics. And I would be really interested to see kind of the mentor-mentee relationship, and Dani kind of learning from Bette and not making the same mistakes, because you know, I love Bette to death but she has made a lot of mistakes, and you know, Bette's learning could be Dani's gain. And I just would be really interested to see that kind of older lesbian, like, you know, helping out the younger one. And you know, they're both very like driven, passionate people who care very much about their career. Like that's a big aspect of them, and not everybody has that. Like my work and my job and career is a really big part of me and my personality and my work ethic and all that stuff. And some people, like I have friends that their job is they want to punch in at 8:59 and be out the door at 4:59, and it's a check to them, and that's it. And that is, there, one isn't right and one isn't wrong. It's just people are just different. So I'd really be interested to see Dani and kind of her learning from Bette's mistakes, and then also Bette kind of taking this active role in like bettering Dani and just being a mentor to her. Gonna get into the OGs a bit more now, and of course like they both groups kind of filter throughout, so there's no like divide. But number 6 is this is probably the thing that definitely one of the top like 3 things I'm most excited about, and I just hope we get lots of it, is the scenes with the OGs. There is just no way I can explain how happy it makes me to just see them back on the screen. And even when like the scene I was talking about before, when they're talking about Gigi, like just these little things, there is no other show on television where you can feel that they have this like relationship, especially when you're looking at like Kate and Leisha, who, and of course maybe it's because we know this and we know that they're best friends and stuff, and it's playing into our bias or whatever, but I love the scenes with the OGs. I want to see more. I want to see, a little caper where like when they steal the sign and something like that. Like I love Bette, Alice and Shane together, and then I'll talk more about other returning people in a second. But I just, even in the original show when, all the cast were there, there's something undeniably amazing about those 3 actresses on screen together. And it's one of those things where you think they shouldn't work. They just even look like very different people, but they just have this amazing chemistry together. And I love it. I love it. And I've said this before, I don't think that Generation Q, if you would have picked 3 other people, like the sign stealing, like all these other things, like Alice, Bette and Shane very much represent the original show, and they're very much like the heart of the show. Like I think of course there's other people that can fill those roles too, but I just really love Alice, Bette and Shane together, and it's just magic watching them on screen. And this kind of plays into, I talked about this again a little bit the other day, that when Laurel Holloman was on the Pants podcast and she was talking about how after the L Word finished and she went and she got a job, I think it was on Castle, and she was saying, I'd lived in this little L Word bubble for 6 years and was working with, all these women every day and this great TV show, this lightning in a bottle, and I went on the Castle set and it was just like, so I can't remember the exact phrase, but someone made some really sexist comment and was just like gross, and Laura Holman pretty much stepped away from acting, did retire and went into painting then, and I really don't think she would have come out of retirement from acting for anything else but the L Word. And I think it is that environment on set and how fantastic it was for the original cast when they were there. So it's really, I love hearing stories like that from the set and how well they all get along. Like you can see it in their interviews and stuff. I think you can see it on the show. I mean, again, maybe I'm seeing what I want to see, but it makes me happy, so I'll live in my own little world there. Number 7 is kind of just following on from this point, in that I am just excited to see more returning characters. I mean, we know for sure Laurel Holman is coming back, and I'm like 98% sure Rachel Shelley is coming back. I mean, it's only been a week since we've known that, and I think in the last 7 days, Rachel Shelley has been on the IMDb page, been off it, been on it, been off it. So, you know, I think they were kind of like doing what they did with Laurel, where they didn't really mean to put it out there, but, you know, what are you going to do? Detective Ash was on the case. So I'm really excited, because even more of this lightning in a bottle, you know, that I was talking about in the previous point, I think it just even more adds to that. And having, you know, again, Jennifer and Laura Holman, amazing chemistry like no other, and then bringing in Rachel Shelley and stuff too. I think it's going to be brilliant, and I cannot wait to see it. Number 8 is seeing Bette go back more into the art world. I'm really hoping for a tiny little James cameo, but I know, you know, he's doing other things now and he's working behind the camera, and, you know, he has his smoking hot wife, Julia Stiles, so maybe he won't be able to come back. But going back into the art world, I think it's absolutely the right decision. I think that kind of is such a big part of who Bette is, and again, like, bleeding into her whole, like, her career and things. And also there's a tiny smidgen that maybe they could get Peggy Peabody to come back, like, in some art way. So I will always live in hope of that. But just, I really did like the Bette running for mayor thing, and I think it was absolute, like, a genius thing to do, because you can totally see Bette Porter running for mayor, like, come on. And I do really understand that they couldn't have her win, because I think the exact quote they said was like, this, you know, isn't the West Wing, so it wouldn't make sense if she would have won. Like, the show would have had to focus on that way too much, because she's the mayor of LA. Like, she's not gonna have, you know, time to go to brunch every week with Alice and Shane. So yes, I'm really excited to see Bette go back into the art world, and they seem to be focusing on it a lot more, because we've learned of all these guest stars that are coming back in an art sort of way, like the artist that Vanessa Williams is playing, the guy that Griffin Dunn is playing is in the art world too. So I think that that's a really smart thing to do, because when Bette, you know, in the beginning, in season 1 of the original show, when she was more involved in the art world, like, that was, you know, a really interesting plot device too. So really excited to see that as well. Number 9 is, I hope that Shane gets kind of a beefed up storyline a little bit. I know we did have the focus on her ex-wife coming back, but whenever the season ended, it was kind of, you know, Bette was taking the step forward and, like, striking out again after going through some heavy losses with, you know, Kit, Tina, losing the mayoral race, and then Alice is in a really good place too. You know, she's back with Nat, and the TV show obviously is renewed, because we've seen things that say Alice season 2. And Shane, you know, I mean, the dog is awesome, the dog is cute, but Shane, you know, her wife had left and they'd lost the baby, and, you know, I really want to see more about Shane in this, like, Shane the millionaire mogul that is getting private jets in, and, like, how did we get there from season 6 thing? Like, has Shane, you know, did she strike lucky on something? Did she build up some empire? And then also, I want to see all this being applied to what's going on now. So, like, what's going to happen with Dana's? Like, you know, are they gonna just focus on Dana's and make it the best place in the world, or is she gonna strike out and get other things in LA? And just really want to see more about Shane and like a little, you know, but more about her career side, because Shane has always been very much, you know, about her relationships and getting all these girls and things. And while I'm sure Shane will still be Shane, you know, there's so much more to her, and I really want to see that. So number 10 is kind of like a little bit playing along the same thing, but with Alice, because I want to know more about Alice and how she got to where she is, because what happened to Tasha? Like, I'd like just even, you know, like a little throwaway line or something. And then I'd really like to see, now that, you know, she's back with Nat, that's established. We did get the flashback to seeing like their first night and stuff, which I think that was really cool. And I really want to see more of Nat and Alice's relationship. And then even no matter what happens with Gigi, like, they still have to do this co-parenting. So just more Alice, more of Alice at home. But then also, I love Boss Alice. I love the concept of Alice having the show, and, you know, having Sophie and Finley there. Really, really great, like, plot device again. And then also having the ability to bring in these like amazing guest stars and not have to like force them into, oh my god, Gloria Steinem knows Bette's dad. You know, that having them as a guest star on Alice's show is just a total win. So really excited to see more of Alice, more of everything, and just Alice being a total girl boss. So number 11 is more focusing on the guest stars and what they're going to bring to the show. So number 1, the biggest guest star that we've had announced, of course, is Rosie O'Donnell, who plays Carrie. And I am really, really excited to see Rosie in this role, because I've said this a lot of times, that I think that she was such a good choice, because the person who plays Carrie like has to be a strong person in an acting role, but also someone that, you know, can stand up to the heat. And I also think that with Rosie, like, it's cool that she's a fan of the show too. I think it's really great that they actually hired a gay woman for the role too. And I think they also needed to hire someone who can perform with the caliber of not only like Jennifer Beals and Laura Holloman and Jordan Hull, but also like there's no denying that Jennifer Beals and Laura Holloman like have this great chemistry together on screen, and to have someone come into that like is very, very daunting. So I'm excited to see, especially scenes with the 4 of them, how they kind of play those out. I'm really excited to see Jealous Bet, because you guys know I love a jealous bet. And I think the storyline, the little bits of information that we've got about, you know, Rosie coming in and being very different from this kind of LA lifestyle and the group that we know. And way back, like right at the beginning of my channel, when season 1 was airing, episodes 6, 7, and 8, I said I really wanted Carrie to be totally different, because I will always argue the point that if Tina was with a Bet clone, there would be no reason for her to have left Bet. Like, there has to be something totally different about Carrie. So I'm really interested to see what Rosie brings. I just think that the scenes are going to be dynamite between Rosie and Jennifer, Rosie and Laurel, Rosie, Jennifer and Laurel, and then any of the scenes with Jordan in them as well. So super pumped for that. And I also think that all the other guest stars that we've been given, you know, Vanessa Williams, Donald Faison, Griffin Dunn, all of these people have been like clearly chosen for a reason, and I think that they're just going to bring in even more awesomeness to the show, and their characters are gonna, you know, help further develop. Like Donald Faison is mostly going to be with Alice, Griffin Dunn and Vanessa Williams with Bette, and I think it's just going to help further develop all of their stories and the characters, and I'm just excited to see more of everyone. So number 12, I thought I would end with saying what I hope happens couple-wise with everyone in general, / couples that aren't couples but I'm making them couples, and ones that are split up or don't exist yet. So starting off with, you know, our cliffhanger and things, Sophie and Finley, I hope that's the choice. Or Sophie going alone, because I think it's kind of proven that Dani and Sophie don't work, and I want Dani to be freed up to go with Gigi. So Dani and Gigi, that is my new ship, all about them. They're my Gen Q ship, so I hope that they happen. If not, I am totally available to come on as Gigi's love interest, and anytime you want to hit me up, Instagram DMs, I'm only joking, but I'm just, yeah, Dani and Gigi, they're the new couple goals for sure. Shane, I hope that she finds a nice woman who loves Shane for Shane and, you know, can deal with this. She used to date this very, you know, like big celebrity, and I want Shane to have this kind of relationship where whoever she's with and Shane can kind of like lean on each other too, because I think Shane, like along with like Bette, does this a lot, where they feel as though they need to be like the strong pillar of strength and that the other person can lean on them, whereas, you know, Bette kind of learned that you don't always need to be the strong one, and sometimes your partner can be there for you, and she did that in season 6, and that's why they were successful in season 6. So I'd like to see Shane, you know, have someone be there for her, and then her be there for someone, and also someone that like aligns with not only her values but like what she wants in life, like whether it is to grow her businesses, whether it is to take in 20 stray dogs, like just have someone where they have the same wants, needs and goals. Alice, pretty much they're already there with that. I really like Nat, and I like her and Alice together. I did like the Gigi, Alice and Nat thing, but again, you know, stealing Gigi away for Dani. So I do hope they continue with Alice and Nat, and it will be interesting no matter what happens with whether, you know, something more happens with Gigi or they're having to do this like co-parenting thing / aftermath of the throuple. And Bette, poor sweet Bette, like obviously, you know, I do really like Bette and Tina. I want them to be together, and whether that happens, if it happens, it's great, like, but I think that maybe if it does happen, it will be some sort of cliffhanger that will be left on. I don't think we're going to come back in season 1 and they're together. So I hope that, you know, we just get a lot of Bette and Tina scenes, because no matter what, even if they're together or not, Laura Holloman and Jennifer Beals together on screen is magic. And I also just really hope that Bette, you know, doesn't lose her mind too much having to be around Carrie and Tina, because I mean, jealous Bette, again, love some jealous Bette, and I think if we're gonna have Bette and this artist that Vanessa Williams is playing, you know, we might see some jealous Tina too, because the jealous Tina was around in season 4 and at the beginning of season 5. So no matter what happens, it's gonna be super interesting, tension filled, dramatic, it's all going to be there. So I am just really, really excited for Generation Q season 2. You know, there is so much going on, so many storylines, characters, there's absolutely something for everyone. And I'm really excited to see more new episodes. You know, I know it's not going to be next month that we get the show back, but it's getting there. It's getting there. They are finishing-ish episodes 206, moving towards 207. So they've really got about 4 episodes left to do. And yes, it has been taking a lot longer to film, but we're getting into the last half of it. So I'm just really, really excited. Looking forward to getting the show back. You know, who knows? Look at all the news that we've got lately. Like, probably in the last 2 or 3 weeks is the most information that we've got over the last since November, for the past 4 or 5 months. So hopefully we continue to get little tidbits of information that'll keep us, you know, pumped up for when we finally get season 2 back. And, you know, it will be a big party no matter what, when the trailer drops and when the first season drops. So you know that no matter what, news, trailers, whatever, the news will come here first. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification so that you're notified every time I post a new video, because at least then you have the option of watching it or not, but at least you've been notified. So if you enjoyed this video, if you are looking forward to season 2 of Generation Q, give the video a thumbs up, as it really, really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, as it's not too friendly with, you know, LGBTQ, the L word, so it doubly is not friendly to me. If you weren't able to make it to LCon that took place on Friday, you can go and check out the video on my channel and see everything that we talked about it was the L Word Online, All Things Tibet, and Bette and Tina House of Stir Fry. So we literally talked about everything. So if you want to go and watch that, please do. And we are already planning LCon 2, and we'll definitely probably get more into Generation Q. Obviously this is the first one, so it was very much like everyone's, you know, jumping off point and how they came to watch the L Word and their favorite characters and stuff. So definitely be another one and more coming soon. Also, if you want to know all the season 2 news, everything we know so far, and about all the returning characters, make sure to check out these videos, and they will tell you everything there is to know about season 2. Well, everything we know so far anyway. Also, don't forget to follow me over on social media, because I drop a lot of stuff over there. I post a lot more often over there too, so make sure to follow me on all of the platforms. And if you want to get your hands on some nice L Word merch, or just to support the channel, please check out my merch store that's linked in the description box down below. I've got lots of L Word merchandise and also some Miss G merchandise. So if you want to support the channel, that is a great way to do it, while also getting yourself some merch. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.